Welcome to Wolfie Hikes. I'm Wolfie. So today's a very special video for me. Is I recently took part in the Crucible Hike for the Veterans Leadership Program, and it was a charity hike. And if you want to check out those videos about how I did the hike, there'll be a link somewhere around here. But I know from a standpoint that it was not an easy event to put on, and I want to give credit where credit's due and give everybody an understanding of what it takes to participate in a hike like that, what goes on behind the scenes. With that being said, I've got a second guest with me, Nicole from the Allegheny Trail, and she's probably going to ask questions that I couldn't think of. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Randy, the man behind the Crucible Hike. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Frank. So it's quite an honor to be with both of you this evening. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me and talk about what it takes to pull off the Crucible hike. So just to give you a little bit of background on the Crucible hike itself, this event started back in 2015 and was the brainchild of two veterans back in 2014. Uh, and these two veterans were kind of exploring different ways to pull in some extreme sports and make them fundraising events for Veterans Leadership Program and for another event or another veterans nonprofit at the time called Checkpoint. So the credit for this event goes to uh, now deceased and retired Army Captain Jared Souter and Dan Blevins. So Dan Blevins at the time was with Veterans Leadership Program, and Jared Souter was with Checkpoint. And the two of them were trying to figure out ways to come up with some big fundraising events that involved extreme sports. And what they came up with was the Crucible Hike and another event that was basically a bike ride from Pittsburgh to DC on the Great Allegheny on the trail system from Pittsburgh to Washington DC. Uh, so the Crucible Hike is basically a 3 day, 70 mile supported through hike of the Laurel Highlands Hiking Trail. And as Wolfie mentioned before, it is a charity hiking event that benefits Veterans Leadership Program. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Veterans Leadership Program, a little bit of background of who we are and what we do. Veterans Leadership Program started in 1982 as the Vietnam Veterans Leadership Program of Western Pennsylvania. And in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, a lot of steel mills in the Pittsburgh area were closing. And there were some Vietnam veterans in the region that came together and formed a nonprofit to assist their fellow Vietnam veterans with housing, employment, and other supportive services. And we're trying to do our best to carry on the legacy that they created 43 years ago. And just a few years ago, we did some rebranding and we dropped the Vietnam veterans portion of our name and the of Western Pennsylvania portion. We dropped the Vietnam veterans portion because there was some confusion in the veterans community in Western Pennsylvania that we only served Vietnam veterans. And actually, that's not the case at all. We serve veterans of all eras. And we serve veterans regarding of discharge type. And then as we expanded our service delivery area into the 30 counties of western Pennsylvania, one in northeastern Ohio and one in western New York, we dropped the of western Pennsylvania portion as we started to expand into other states. So, Veterans Leadership Program has offices in Pittsburgh, Erie, and Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and we have case managers that cover those all the areas in between, and we continue to focus on the same primary things that our founders did in 1982, primarily housing for veterans, employment services for veterans, and other supportive services. Now, those other supportive services have grown over the years to a number of different things, but we have grants where we're helping with suicide prevention programs and tax clinics and legal programs and working in the court systems and in veterans pods and jails and prisons so that other supportive and even wellness programs like the hiking and cycling events and things that we're discussing here this evening. So that's a little bit of background of what the Crucible Hike is, how it started, and kind of my role with that is as the coordinator of the event. And Wolfie, I think you may have pointed out in one of your previous videos that I'm the part-time business development director for Veterans Leadership Program. I'm also serving on active duty in the Air Force, so I kind of put this event together, this and some other events for VLP together on a part-time basis.
So let me bring in Nicole. I promised to introduce her. I totally forgot. So you can tell this is a real professional engagement here. So Nicole, if you want to wave hi, and
Yeah.
if you have any questions along the way, just speak up and we'll put them in there.
Yeah, one thing I
So
want to jump into real quick is just wow. Like, Randy, wow.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right? And thank you for your service and everybody who's serving alongside you, like you said, right, in a parallel fashion to help launch these fantastic events for our veterans. That was a great introduction, and I'm very, very impressed.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah. Uh,
so Randy, what does it take? So you announce on Facebook, right, that you're going to start taking entries for the year, right?
yes.
Yeah. So can you run us through that process about what it takes to spin up an event like this?
Sure. Yeah. Uh, And Wolfie, you've been there. The Thursday evening, the first night of our event each year, we all kind of gather together and have a conversation together and a meal together. And then, like I say, it's kind of like a dysfunctional family reunion for a bunch of us that spans 70 miles in 3 counties. But at that event, at that Thursday night, the first night of the Crucible, I oftentimes ask people to raise their hand if they've been involved in the Pittsburgh Marathon or some 5K where there's hundreds of people involved in those kinds of things. And at that point, I remind people that this is not that kind of event. I'm not organized enough as a person to pull off an event like that. And that's kind of intentional, right? I want this event. I never want someone to leave this event and feel like they were a number on a bib, right? When each person, it's always my goal and the goal of the volunteers that are working alongside me. When each person crosses the finish line on Sunday, I want to make sure that we all know that person by their first name. That we take the time throughout that weekend to truly get to know people, get to know what makes them tick, things like that. So that's kind of going to finish line. So let's rewind back to typically what happens in January. Wolfie, as you mentioned, we typically release our registration in January, but even prior to releasing the registration, we start to have some coordination efforts with the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. Fortunately, because of the great relationship that we have with them, we really don't have much conflict with dates with them. So it has typically for the past handful of years been that we conduct the Crucible the weekend right after September 11th. So what happens is we lock in those dates with the DCNR. We sign some agreements and things with the DCNR, and then we release our registration. And at that point, I start, first of all, I get excited when I log in every couple of days and look at the people that have registered and say, oh yeah, Wolfie's coming back again, and this person's coming back again, and that's a new face. And I diligently track each one of those names, and I get excited when I see that there are so many returnees coming back to the Crucible. But as we're progressing along, it's interesting. Wolfie, as you know, we stay on Friday night at the Route 30 shelters just outside of Jennerstown. Over the years, we have a number of Crucible hikers that get so excited about this every year. There's a couple of them that kind of race to reserve all the shelters at Route 30 for us. So that's something that is usually checked off on my list because we have a couple of hikers that are so into this thing that they want to make sure that some of those things are taken off my plate. So one of the first things is we get the shelters reserved that we're going to need for the event. And then start lining up other things. As you know, on Friday morning, Wolfie, you boarded a bus where we bussed you from our base camp at Rockwood up to Seward. We contract with a bus company out of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and they've worked with us for a number of years. So I coordinate the buses, and we start doing some meal planning and recruiting volunteers. And each year we have a number of people that are first timers with us, and this isn't the type of event where I think you just come to the event on Thursday night with no information and come and execute the event successfully. So I tried to hold a few Zoom Q&A sessions with hikers, new hikers that are coming out to the event for the first time, and during those Zoom sessions I try to create some expectations where I lay out basically a hour by hour, location by location agenda for people and show them where all of our checkpoints and aid stations will be on the trail. Uh, try to create expectations for those new hikers, and I ask a lot of the hikers that have participated in the event a number of times to contribute to those sessions. Talk about some of the things that they'll experience on the trail, some of the things to pack in their gear, and some of the things to leave home. One of the things that we do with this event, as I mentioned, it's a supported through hike of the trail. So we provide all the meals, all the water and other hydration. So that's a huge load off for people when conducting a through hike of this trail. They don't have to be concerned about what they're going to be eating, any subsistence. We provide that along the way.
Or
So
carrying.
yes, exactly. Yeah, absolutely, Nicole. So that's a huge load off of the
Can,
hikers. They
can
don't
I
have
can I interrupt you for 1 minute?
far away.
So, was it your vice chair that was his first time hiking it this year?
Yeah, it was someone on our board of directors. Yeah.
Well, I owe that person an apology.
Oh, yeah.
So he was a first time hiker, and I saw what he was carrying with him Friday morning as he get on the bus,
Yeah.
and just my mouth went in the gear without thinking. I said, "That's too much shit."
Yeah.
I said, "My son is volunteering. You can go put half that stuff on my truck right now."
Yep. And
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 God bless
John
him, he
probably
didn't
didn't
do
want to.
it.
Yeah. Right. And it's interesting, Wolfie, because the origin of this hike when it first started in the first couple of years was exactly that. It was basically a military style ruck march through the woods where everyone was
Based on the
carrying.
Marines.
Yeah, yeah. Based on the Marine Corps, the Crucible event, at the pinnacle of boot camp for the Marines, they hold the Crucible event. It was based on that, but over the years, we have found that we were losing a lot of people that didn't want to come back and participate in the event because there weren't some accommodations made, right? And so we have, since I've kind of taken over coordinating this event over the past couple of years, I've tried to do what we can to be a little more hospitable on the trail, if you will. And a lot of the feedback that we received when I started coordinating the event was about food. So we try to make a solid effort to have good meals every morning for breakfast and every night for dinner. Tap in my volunteers, which includes my phenomenal wife who makes homemade spaghetti sauce on Friday night, and so we try to accommodate hikers well, and I think that has served us well, getting people to come back. It's funny, every Saturday night, as you know, Wolfie, we do a chicken stir fry night, and
It's
it's
really
funny
good.
how many. Yeah, it's oh thanks. It's funny how many times throughout the year I hear from people like, "Hey man, are we gonna have chicken stir fry again?" Absolutely, we are. So I think we've had a lot of success getting people to come back because it can be a very miserable and challenging time on the trail. So we want to make sure that when hikers get back to camp, that we're making things as not miserable and challenging. And we have a staff of medical volunteers that come out that my wife coordinates, physical therapist, occupational therapist, some RNs that we put at each of the checkpoints, and ice baths at night back at camp for your feet, and nurses out there providing foot care. So we try to accommodate as well as we can.
Randy, I got a question for you.
Sure.
This all sounds amazing, but I didn't really catch the metrics. Maybe I missed it. How many sign up? How many
Yeah.
people are we talking about?
So typically, and so this is kind of two events in one, right? We have the full 70-mile hike over 3 days. And then on the final day, we have what's called the 11-mile sprint. It's really not a sprint, but it's the 11-mile hike on the last 3 days. Typically, for the full 70-mile hike, we'll have somewhere between 60 and 70. And then uh, another 20 or so that participate in the 11-mile event on the final day. However, it's always on Thursday evening. I'm kind of always curious of how many people are actually going to show up to start the hike on Friday morning. And we always have a number of hikers that end up dropping due to injury as they're participating in training hikes prior to the event. So I think leading up to the event, we had 70 that were signed up to participate in the entire event, and 53 started on Friday morning. But we were fortunate that we had a couple of folks who were intending to hike the entire event, and for injury or whatever reason weren't able to, so they came out and volunteered with us, and were able to see the kind of the different side of the Crucible event when you're volunteering and assisting by serving the hikers that way.
Yeah.
That was going to be
For
my
me,
next question.
sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, honey.
I just said
How many volunteers do you... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Nicole.
I was just wondering in the background, how many volunteers you count on or you project for throughout this incredible race.
Well, thank you. We usually have throughout the entirety of the weekend probably 30 volunteers, and typically 7 or 8 of those, maybe 9 of those, are there for the entirety of the weekend from Thursday evening through Sunday afternoon, including Frank's son Cody. He came out and joined us and spent the entire weekend with us again. He did that a couple of years ago, and that was tremendous. We'll have a couple of other VLP staff members that are out there with us, and a lot of it really has been friends and family. Friends of mine and my wife's, and family members of ours that come out and participate as volunteers, and then it just kind of grows from there. Frank signed up for the hike, and Cody, and maybe it's vice versa, as you said.
It is vice versa.
Yeah. Cody says, hey, Dad, we're coming up. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
He used to work for Duquesne Energy in Pittsburgh,
Mm-hmm.
and he was Duquesne's veterans liaison to a bunch of different groups, and he heard about your events, and he knows I was a hiker, and he's the one that shamed me into doing it, even though he's the Marine, and his old dad, who's an Army vet, is the one that is gung-ho to do stuff like that. But it's a bonding event for me and him.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
we both have a lot of fun just being together and doing the hike.
Yeah, that's great that you're able to do that together, and we really appreciate, obviously, what you've done as a hiker and fundraiser, but at the same time, what Cody has done for us as a volunteer as well. And like I said, it's a different perspective, it's a different experience for the hikers, and for the volunteers, and I always tell the volunteers that if you would just please endure 72 hours of controlled chaos with Randy, because that's what it really is. And fortunately, as I mentioned, it's a lot of VLP staff members and friends and family of hikers that come out and volunteer and help us execute this event.
So I got a question there.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm gonna let you lead the questions. You're all. It's just the way you are. Go ahead.
Yeah, I should raise my hand. So much depth to this process. So it's been around 10 years.
Yep.
And you primarily promote through Facebook.
Primarily, yep.
And your partner, your land managers, are state?
Yes, they're state. It's basically the State Park Service,
Okay.
Pennsylvania State Park Service.
And then you have the area that you go to the shelters. So you have like 70 a night or so in the same location. So
Yes.
Logistics behind the scenes, obviously, porta potties, infrastructure within all that.
Yeah.
Can you explain the little competition you're running, Randy, about the shelters that first night?
Sure. Yep, absolutely. So, just to kind of broaden things a little bit, on Thursday night and Saturday night, we stay in the same location. It's an area that we refer to as base camp, and Thursday night and Saturday night, people can set up a tent and on Thursday night and leave it there for Saturday night, and some people will car camp or set up a blow up mattress in the bed of their pickup truck. We have some of those. Friday night is the more challenging night where we go. We're at a section along the trail where there are actually five stone shelters that were built, I believe, in the 1930s with the Civil Conservation Corps that have fireplaces in them, and they hold about four people each. So, simple public school math tells me that we have five shelters and four people in each. That's about 20 people, and we have 60 to 70 people out on the trail. There's just not enough room for everyone. So, what we do is, and I let people know this up front, that the people that have the individuals and teams that have done the most fundraising for this event get first dibs on the shelters. Everyone else is basically, you need to pack a small tent or pack a hammock that you can hang between a couple of trees. And as we talked about it, we carry some of that gear for them. But, it's interesting. There's competition with these shelters. This is not a race. There are a couple of people that treat it as a race. Fortunately for us, the friendly competition has come in fundraising for this event. There are some people that have been participating in this event for a number of years that are passionate about the cause, and that's where the friendly competition is involved. I'll have people that are reaching out to me and say, hey, and just to give you a little bit of description, some people will register for this event solely as an individual and make a commitment to fundraise at least $500 for our nonprofit. And then there are others that will register as a team, right? And we have teams that range from 4 people up to 8 or 9 people, and it's basically multiples of $500, right? However many people you have on your team. But yeah, we have a lot of friendly competition in the fundraising arena where someone will say, oh, I see that so-and-so has fundraised X amount of dollars. I'm trying to catch up or beat them. Or, our team wants to make sure that we get a shelter. So we're really trying to work hard to fundraise more, not only for the cause itself, but to try to get into the shelters as well.
Yeah. So what was cool about this year is the top fundraising team actually gave up the shelter and stayed in tents.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have taken a picture of where we all tented because there was tents just 3 or 4 across and probably ran back 75, 100 yards into the woods.
Yeah.
But it was a nice experience, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, Wolfie, and you've experienced having participated in this event. Uh, this event has become like a community of people, and that's it's just an interesting group of people that are out there for a cause, and it's fascinating to me because it is veterans and non-veterans alike that are all working toward the same goal and mission to support our veterans. But it's a really unique group of people that come from all walks of life, right? We have people that are, I had lunch today with one of our hikers who works in manufacturing, and we have engineers and accountants and just all kinds of people that come together, and we come together and set politics and all the noise of the world aside for a few days for a common cause. And over the years, a number of these people have become friends of mine, and we, it's just a really neat community of people.
Very special. So, I hear that you register. Is there a fee to register also, or just the concept of fundraising?
Yeah, just the concept of fundraising. And I
So
think when you go ahead, sorry.
can you explain how you use giveclassy.org? Because
Yeah.
that was
Yep. Yeah, so we use a website called classy.org that is, I believe they were purchased by GoFundMe, so it's falls under the GoFundMe umbrella. But so we have kind of an administrative side of classy.org where we can manage a variety of different fundraising events. But each hiker, when they register to participate in the event, they are also set up with their own link to their own website so that they can, advertise. They can use that link to put out on social media and, that send it out to the world. So at any time a hiker is getting donations, it's being recorded back to their own fundraising account. And we've had pretty good success with that platform over the years. And you talk about some of the behind the scenes things. That's something that I do pretty frequently leading up to the event, is just taking a look at where fundraising stands. And I even look at I look at those hikers that are struggling with their fundraising and always make the offer that we'll put it out. I put it out on my own social media, or we have some of the hikers that have participated for a number of years that offer some tips and tricks for fundraising during those Zoom sessions.
Nice. So how many what's your series of Zoom sessions if registration opens in January?
Yeah.
And you do a Zoom series and you've got like what is your cutoff before the event? 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think we had the last one 2 weeks or so prior to the event. And interestingly, Nicole, the vast majority of our hikers, if we put out the fundraising, or if we put out the event link in mid to late January, we'll have a third of our hikers that are already registered in February. And then there will be a lull for a while, and some more will pick up in the summertime as winter breaks here in Pennsylvania and people are getting outside, like, yeah, I want to get in shape and go, get in shape for the Crucible and go and hike. We'll have more people and then we always have the last minute folks, a couple of, handful of people that will register last minute. And it's funny to me because I know I'm not a very organized person, right? That's a flaw of mine that I'm aware of. But I try to be diligent about making sure that I'm getting information to people. And I know that there's always a couple of those last minute people that are like, hey, I have no idea where we're starting or where we're going. And I'm scratching my head like, man, I know I've sent out PowerPoint Zoom slides and done, but there are those people that, maybe they registered at the end of the event and weren't available for one of those Zoom sessions or whatever.
Right.
So, but that's something that I want to know, how to better communicate with people. Am I getting the right information out to the people at the right times to make sure that they're coming to an event in an informed fashion, and and we're setting expectations right from the beginning. And I think we are. If we're not, I'd really like feedback on that so we can make it better.
Sure. Is that forgive me, but is the Laurel Highlands Trail on all trails? Or far out?
It is.
Or an app?
Yes.
It's in all trails.
Yep.
Gotcha. So the research is there if they want to do their own as well.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, they can research that trail all they want, but they're in for a shock that first day when they do 24 miles.
Yeah. Right.
Because my first time doing it, and I bless everybody that tries it for the first time. I was that person the first time, coming in last place in the night after dark, and Randy with a headlamp coming out to make sure I was okay and walking me on back in. Now this year,
Nice.
I was a little bit competitive and I tried to stay in the top 10, except for that last day, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah. So, if you don't mind, Wolfie, I'm going to touch on something that with my military background, things like that, I'm very concerned about safety and accountability, right? So I want to make sure that we have safety measures kind of implemented as much as we possibly can, and one of those safety measures is taking a number of accountability measures. So like I said, every 6 to 8 miles, we have an aid station set up, and at each one of those aid stations, the volunteers there have checklists of every hiker that should be coming through. Right? We don't tear down an aid station until every hiker has come through and is accounted for. Something else that we've done over the past couple of years is we've implemented Life 360. So Life 360 is basically a Big Brother GPS app, so we can see where everyone is located, and we have all of our aid stations plotted out on Life 360. And I tell hikers all the time that it is not required that they become a part of the Life 360 group, but I strongly encourage it, because there have been instances in the past where we've had a hiker that managed to get off the trail somehow and was lost, and they were able to at some point get phone service, and they called me, and I looked on Life 360 and saw where they were, and I was able to dial them in, get them redirected to where the next checkpoint is located. So that has been a valuable tool. I don't know that it's been as valuable for the hikers, but it's been tremendously valuable for my blood pressure. So we can kind of account for where people are located, or if someone, like you were saying, Frank, if you were out there at night and you're hiking by headlamp, we could have some general idea of where those last few people were.
Unfortunately, Life 360 and a lot of where we would do it on our trail wouldn't work
Yeah.
because a bunch of our trail goes through the national radio quiet.
Okay. I see.
But there might be other measures we could take into place, especially with those checkpoints.
Yeah, Frank, I'm part of the West Virginia Trail Fest, and that's a marathon. So they do a 100K. It's an ultra marathon race
Yeah.
based at the top of Snowshoe and come down and around several different lengths. And we use ham radios for
Okay.
our hydration stations.
Yeah.
And that's a very interesting way to communicate as well at times where we are.
Right.
But yeah, it's great that you guys are doing all the extra background stuff, like you said, on the coordinating end.
Sure.
One
So,
question I
the,
had was,
go ahead.
oh, go ahead. So
No, I just
you,
want to make a comment, and it goes about before I move on and forget. So we were at base camp on September 11th this year, and I wish I would have got on camera, but you gave a really good speech, Randy, and I appreciate it. And you got choked up yourself, and it got me choked up too. And I really appreciate what you said and everything.
Oh,
So
thanks.
I'd like to thank you for that.
Yeah. No. No. Thank you. It's yeah. It was a powerful time, right? That, I mean, not only September 11th, but where we were with the start of the Crucible, and obviously we were kind of literally in the shadows of the flight path of United Flight 93, where we were just not far at all from Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and it was the day after there was an assassination of Charlie Kirk, and again, I try to not drag politics into this. And I'm not going to do that now, but my feeling is that no matter who it is, those of us that have worn the uniform, we're out there to protect everyone's First Amendment rights and protect the Constitution. So that you're right, Frank. That Thursday night to me was a very powerful time, and I'm glad that we were able to all kind of get together and have a little bit of dialogue about that, but didn't let political nonsense spill into it. We were kind of able to get focused at that point. So yeah,
I agree.
thanks.
So, Nicole, your question?
yeah, I mean, I don't want to take away from anything what you just said, because I think a lot of us were at a pivotal point right there. Maybe questioning things, a little lost.
Yeah,
Didn't
right.
maybe feel team,
Sure.
feel cohesiveness. So thanks for taking the time to put your heart and soul into that.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't
Yeah.
even there, but I can tell with Wolfie and yourself that that was a powerful moment. So thanks
Yeah.
for creating that for others.
Well, and I hope it did, Nicole. I hope it did. What I was trying to create was let's not be a part of the division. Let's be a part of the unity, and hopefully it did for at least the 60 or so people that were there that night. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for having the courage to do it too,
Well, thanks. Yeah.
for sure.
Thank you.
My question was just the orchestration of the start. Hiking. What is it? What is it, Wolfie? How many miles the first day?
24.
30?
24. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. How do you launch in the morning? People go when they want to. They get up,
No.
they're energized.
Yeah. That's
Is there like a starting line?
Yeah. That's a really good question, Nicole. So, Good question. Starting time is about 4:45 in the morning when my
Okay.
alarm goes off and we plug in the coffee pots. And a group of volunteers kind of springs out of bed at that point and whips up a quick breakfast of bacon, eggs, and bagels for 60 people. And then at about 6 a.m., we have two school buses that show up that are contracted. And we try to get everyone fed and onto the buses, not just on the buses, but make sure that we're checking every name off the list before people get
Yeah.
onto those buses. So there have been times where I've been literally out there knocking on tents, like, "Hey man, you getting up to go and hike with us?" We get everyone on the buses, and then it's about an hour bus ride from where our base camp is located to the trailhead in Seward, Pennsylvania, near Johnstown. So we get there, I don't know, 7:15 ish, and take a couple of pictures together at the starting point, and then everyone kind of steps off from there.
And
Yeah,
it's the same each day.
No,
no,
actually, it's not. Yeah, so we
it
that
gets
that
hard.
first yeah, yeah, that day that first day is Friday, and that's from Seward, Pennsylvania to basically Jennerstown, Pennsylvania. And as Wolfie mentioned, that first day is 24 miles, and the second day is
First
even
five
longer.
miles is all uphill.
Yeah, yeah. The second day, Saturday, is even longer, where the hike goes from where we started at Jennerstown at the Route 30 shelters and hike back to our base camp, and it is 27 ish, Wolfie, that second day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Almost
Any
28
downhill,
actually.
Wolfie? Is there any downhill in day two?
It's in Appalachia, so it's nothing but pointless ups and downs.
Yeah. Yeah. And then 19 on day three, but a really challenge. I mean, yeah, Wolfie will tell you it's a 19 on day three, but it's not like you've caught any kind of break from the previous days because there's some pretty
It took my
serious hills.
knees about 8 days to recover, and I lost a
Yeah.
toenail, and it's the only day I had blisters.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we started 53 on Friday morning, and 38 people crossed the finish line on Sunday that completed the full 70 miles. Now we had it, something else that I do with this, Nicole. And I'm sorry, I saw you had a question there, but just quickly, something else that I try to do is I tell people that this is your hike, right? You're out here supporting us. That we're not. This is your. So we've had people that hiked on Friday, decided to take Saturday off, and then came out and hiked again on Sunday. Or we've had people that have hiked and just needed to get off the trail for a few miles, a few hours. They've jumped in a volunteer van to the next checkpoint and got back in on the trail. So I tell people this is their hike, but I do make sure that I track who those hikers were that completed the full 70.
Sure. My question went back to the morning. So the is the start of the morning the same each day?
Oh, yeah, yeah. For the most part, the start of the morning
Okay.
is the same, with the exception we start a little bit later. Uh,
Okay.
I get again going back to the safety aspect of things, and I've gotten some feedback from hikers that they're not real pleased that I ask them to wait until first light. Yeah, they want to get
For
out there
those
and
of
on the
us who can
trail.
cheat,
Yeah, I want to get out there on the trail, and I end up making some concessions again for those that I know that are experienced hikers,
Hmm.
right? Experienced hikers that have been out there, especially on this trail, that know this trail well. I make some concessions for. But if I know it's somebody that it's their first time out there doing this event, they're out there on their own, like, sorry, bro, you're waiting for the first light before we do this, unless you're going out with some other folks that are experienced on this trail. Yeah.
Sure. The West Virginia Trail Fest start. Our hydration station starts at 2 a.m.
Oh, wow.
and so we leave to drive. We're at the remote location, then haul everything in the day before. But we have to start and have broth boiling at 2 a.m.
Wow. Yeah. That's an
in
early
the
start
middle
to
of
the day.
nowhere, which is
Yeah.
pretty unique. Like one I've done it a couple years. The first year, it was 36 when I got out of my car. It was 32 and spitting ice,
Yeah.
and then an hour or two went by, and there were northern lights everywhere.
Yeah. Wow. That's
Um,
amazing.
but yeah, that's it's really neat. So what's I'm just trying to think about, like, I've hiked 19 miles, and we did start early, but we
Yeah.
did finish before dark. Um, I'm just trying to. That was my question. Like, man, could you get ahead of the heat a little bit? Our summers have been a little bit elongated, and a little bit
Sure.
warm. So I was just wondering how this
And
started
the
and
heat plays
launched.
a factor this year for me
Yeah,
anyway.
it was. It was a little bit warmer this year, that's for sure. Uh, we may have. I'm looking forward into 2026 already, and because of my day job with the military, we may have some conflict with dates. So we may be pushing back another week. I'm still kind of working that out. So when you drop this on YouTube, there's going to be people like, "What do you mean we're changing the date?" But yeah, there's a possibility we're going to have to push back another week.
Well,
So it hopefully it won't be quite as warm next year as it was this year.
so let's talk about some of the other stuff you do with the events. I mean,
Yeah.
that I think we people may take for granted. I mean, this T-shirt, for instance, right?
Yep.
And you did sweatshirts this year, and
Yeah.
you could the hiker over here,
The medals.
somewhat this way, over the hiker medal, my
Yep.
Allegheny Trail medal on the other side.
Yep.
Yeah, so tell us about that part, about how you get that done. I mean, who's the
Yeah.
creative people?
So it's kind of a combination effort between myself, input from my wife, and every once in a
That's
while I'll
always
reach out
welcome.
to a couple. I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. Get input from her. But so the particular shirt that you're wearing from this year, Wolfie, we decided. Can you are you able to spin around and show the back of it?
Yeah,
Yep. So
is that
that was
good?
the yep, that was the original Crucible logo from when it started 10 years ago. Um, yes, thank you. So we what we wanted to do this year was to ensure that we tied in that logo, and the original colors with the event were black and orange. So that's where this year we decided to tie in the orange, which isn't a standard. Usually with Veterans Leadership Program, most of our colors are the red, white, and blue stuff, and often olive drab things. Um, but we wanted to make sure that we tied in the logo from the original event and the colors from the original event. But some of it is just kind of like spitballing ideas with, talk with my wife about it, talk with my chief development officer at VLP about it, and then I go to the vendor, and we've used a T-shirt vendor in Braddock, Pennsylvania, for a number of years, and they've been phenomenal working with us. Um, and yeah, that's kind of how the creative piece comes up with that.
Yeah,
You
so every
mentioned
participant gets a T-shirt, right?
yes, yep. Every participant gets a T-shirt. This year, because it was the 10th anniversary of the event, we did a sweatshirt sale, and we charged because it's a fundraising event. We charged a few dollars more than the actual cost so that we can add that to the fundraising portion of this. Um, Wolfie, your medal, I'm going to say medal in finger quotes up on the wall behind you. So that metal is actually made out of wood, and a few years ago I found a vendor that produces these wooden medals, and I thought because it was a hiking event that it was appropriate that it be made out of wood. So it's kind of like trees, and each year they have a person that does artwork, and I reach out to them and kind of explain to them the vision of what this year's hike is about, and they kind of did the same thing with the medal for this year, where they incorporated that previous logo along with the VLP logo and 10th anniversary. So going back to what you're asking, at part of our registration, one of the questions is what's your T-shirt size. So that's another thing that I'm doing is as I'm documenting all the registrations, documenting T-shirt sizes, and as we're recruiting volunteers, documenting T-shirt sizes, and that's always kind of a last minute logistical scramble, is making sure that we have kind of the right count on T-shirts, and then increasing those numbers by certain percentages because you're going to have additional volunteers that come and somebody that wants to buy an extra one to give to someone. So yeah, that's a kind of a fun part of tracking logistics of this as well.
And it sounds like that you have to participate to get it. You don't have a website year long. You're promoting it, or do you?
For the T-shirts, No, and
You
I
have to
try.
earn it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You basically have to earn it. You have to come out and raise the money
Hmm.
and hike or volunteer to kind of earn the T-shirt. Now, I mean, I have a million Crucible T-shirts around my house because so my kids are out there. But it's interesting. I use them as billboards as well. Right?
Sure.
And anytime I'm traveling anywhere, if you catch me in Pittsburgh International Airport, I'm in a Crucible T-shirt.
Hmm.
I'm always out and I can't tell you the numbers of people that have stopped me in airports across the country, and were like, "Hey, what's that event? I see something about Laurel Highlands Hiking Trail." So, yeah, I try to use them as billboards as well.
So I just have one other question, and I'll stop with the questions. But
Fire away.
Wolfie knows that's just not true. But
Yeah.
the so you say you had like 53 people, and you raised a really great amount of money.
Yeah.
Do businesses jump in and sponsor directly without sending a team, or do businesses send teams, or what does that
Nicole,
demographic look like?
that demographic could look tremendously better if I was better at it. Uh, I I have not done a good job of getting out to businesses and promote. Like, we put together a thing for sponsorships, but I was terrible about getting that out to the hike. That is an area that I know where we could perform with fundraising far better than we have in the past, and that's something that's really on me to make that better.
So
Fortunately, we've had a number of hikers that maybe they're the company that they work for will give
Match.
them a donation. We had a couple of hikers that did the 11 mile this year that worked for U.S. Steel, and U.S. Steel gave us a sizable donation.
Wonderful.
But that's something that I, as the event coordinator, need to be better at. We had one of our volunteers, her father, who's a Marine Corps veteran, works for a food distribution company, so they donated a pallet of water. Uh, that's something where we could do much better of getting donations of things for the event and getting monetary donations. That I know that's something I need to do better.
so the things that you give, like the snacks, the chips, the
Yeah,
waters, you know, the additives for the waters and stuff like that, is that coming out of VLP's portion of the, or is it being donated?
a little bit of both, but most of that is purchased, so that's coming, basically coming out of that general fund from Veterans Leadership Program. So I mean, I would say if we added up total expense, just to give your viewers an idea, the total fundraising amount was about $77,000 for this event. After we finish up the sweatshirt sale, that'll go in closer to $79,000. And I'm waiting to talk with my chief development officer about basically the add up of expenses, but I would say it's around $10,000 in expenses to pull off this event between, the buses and the porta johns and the T-shirts and medals and all the food and things that weren't donated. That's kind of bottom line about where we are on expenses.
And is that like your trend? Is that normal?
It is.
Participant to raise fundraising ratio? Is
It
that your
is.
pocket?
Yeah, that's been our pocket. Yeah, those numbers, other than the COVID year, and we still executed the event in late 2020 and also in 2021, where the numbers were really slim. We still managed to pull off the event with a whole bunch of crazy restrictions on things that we had to do and things that we couldn't do. But if you discount 2020 and even 2021, that's basically been our pocket. And um, yeah, I think there are some ways that we could. I know that we could probably pretty easily increase participation numbers on this. But again, I'm trying to find that sweet spot of how do we keep participation right where it feels like it's a personalized event. You know, trying to maintain that balance, but also having a healthy fundraising amount there as well.
I think it sounds great.
Thanks.
Very inspirational for a
I appreciate it.
fantastic cause.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I think,
So
you know, Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Wolfie. Sorry. No, I was just gonna say if you guys are doing want to do something like this with your trail, the the first part is the cause. Right? I think you'll be if you have a solid cause, and it may be that maybe you have to partner someone to be able to help your cause with the cause, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, yeah. Wolfie, I'm
So
sorry, you had
one of my
something.
last questions was all the hikers go home. You got 'em where they need to go.
Yeah,
Randy's still working though, right?
yeah. Randy and Randy's wife and a few of the volunteers are still doing things, but yeah, I typically spend the next few days, basically doing gear reconstitution, getting coolers and Blackstone grills, and getting a U-Haul turned in, and getting all the stuff put away, and uh, trying to work on once things kind of calm down later on in the evening, I'm trying to work on some stats. I want to have an idea of how many people finish the 70, and I'm a terrible statistician. I'll be honest with you, but I know that there are a lot of hikers that are really interested in those things. So I spend a little bit of time working on stats and working on making sure that we're spending money wisely. So analyzing those expenses that we've had, because I know a lot of people have really worked hard to do the fundraising for those things. Uh, so yeah, I work on some of those stats in the follow up, and like I said, since we did the sweatshirt sale this year, still had some of those things that were outstanding. So as a matter of fact, I just met with one of the hikers today and had lunch with him, and got him a sweatshirt today. So continue running around getting those things out to people, and you know, yeah. So yes,
Sounds
there's
like a lot
definitely
of stuff
some,
you do.
yeah, a lot of behind the scenes kind of things that occur.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so I have two questions. I promise.
yeah.
Um, Do you have any restrictions on age? Do you have to be 12? Do you have to be 10? Is there an age limit?
No. Um, this year we had our youngest hiker ever complete the 70 miles, and he was 14, and he did it with his mom and his stepdad. And you just asked a very short question, Nicole, that I'm going to give you a very long answer to, because this was actually a really inspirational thing. Um, 2 months ago, probably more like 3 or 4 months ago, this young man's stepdad called me, and his stepdad has put together a team for the Crucible for a couple of years now, and he called me with the same question that you had. Hey, our son who's 14 wants to do the full 70 miles this year. Can he do it? So I had to have some conversations with our chief development officer, and what we came down to was that yeah, he's out there with his parents. There is the whole, the first night everyone signs a liability waiver type thing. Uh, I was comfortable having him participate in the hike because he was out there with his parents. I don't know that we would let any minors come out and participate in the event just on their own, but if they were participating with a parent or guardian, we do that. At the end of the hike on Sunday afternoon, when this young man completed the 70-mile hike, his dad thanked me and said, "You just changed the course of this kid's life." And I really hadn't thought of it that way. And he said, now he knows that he can complete, he can accomplish anything that he sets his mind to. And he thanked me for it. He said, "Yeah, you and I had this conversation a few months ago about whether or not he could participate. Basically, I gave him the green light to participate." And I really hadn't thought of it that way, but I hope that we're having some kind of influence on whether it's that young man or someone else, that he set his mind to completing this, and he did, and hopefully he'll carry that throughout the course of his life.
Sure.
Yeah,
And to partner with his parents.
yeah, yeah,
We've all had great experiences at times with our parents. We don't think about it in the moment, but
sure,
he'll look back on that someday with such gratitude.
yeah, absolutely. I hope so.
So my last question was, hypothetically, you sign up, you raise your money, and you go out and you can only do 12 miles. You call it a day, you go back, you're in a little bit of pain, whatever.
Yep.
You can still go hike the next day, and you don't have to do the exact requirement, and you can
Right.
still finish
Yeah,
right? You get your gear, but you really give to something,
absolutely. Yep.
and you got your memories, you got your new friends, you've got a wonderful experience. So I guess the takeaway I look at is, this is pretty much for everybody.
It really is. And you, you just brought me to another story, Nicole. So we had a young lady who was a veteran. Sorry, and you give a short question that ends up with a story behind it. Young lady that came out and hiked with us. She did the fundraising this year. A young lady that is a veteran that after the first day she wasn't able to continue on, and she was devastated because she was out there because she was actually a client of Veterans Leadership Program not too long ago. She was going through some difficulties in her life, and Veterans Leadership Program helped her with some of our programs, some housing and legal assistance programs, and she wanted to really be there to be able to give back to the organization that helped her in a difficult time. She was devastated because she really wanted to complete the hike and complete the 70 miles. And I remember she and I were having a conversation, and my wife, as my wife was evaluating her injury, we're having a conversation with her, and we're telling her about you can still give back. You come and hang out with us the rest of the weekend, and we will continue serving the other people that are out here. And she really realized that sometimes when you feel like a door closes, that others open. And she ended up having a tremendous experience with us for the rest of the weekend, not as a hiker, but as a volunteer. And I think she felt like she gave back more as a volunteer with us than she actually did as a hiker on the trail. So it was one of those things where it kind of opened things up in a different way for her.
Right? She joined
Yeah.
a new team.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Really
Yeah.
cool, Randy.
Yeah.
I really appreciate what you're doing. And for those of you that want to come out and volunteer, you could do that. Want to get in the hike, you could do that.
Yeah.
It's really inspirational. I appreciate you
Yeah.
taking the time, and Wolfie, putting this together is great.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. And I'm excited to. I don't live all that far from wild and wonderful West Virginia, and so and I have a kid.
Yeah.
One of our
So
kids is at WVU,
where
so we're
we
gonna have to get down there.
our
Nice.
trail starts is probably only 30 miles from where we started
Okay,
on the Laurel Highlands,
good. I need to look that up and become more familiar with it. Yeah.
just north of Brewston Mills, right at the Pennsylvania West Virginia border.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spent some time down there through Camp Dawson and out on the ranges there,
Oh
so I need
yeah,
to
we go
come.
right,
We go right by
right,
it.
Yeah.
right by. You're
Okay. Yeah. I,
you're walking through Camp Dawson, and there's gates where
yeah.
you can tell where they bivouacked,
Okay.
and you're
Yeah.
walking right next to it.
Well, good. I'm excited to learn more about the Allegheny Trail, and maybe we can
You're
get
more
together
than
and
welcome
break bread
anytime.
together and talk more about it. Yeah.
Today, not to take any thunder, but this is probably this fall. The best, in my opinion, to hike our trail is in the fall. Right? It
Oh
is
yeah,
beautiful. It is
I
it
can
is
imagine.
gorgeous. But we've had more hikers through hikers out at one time than I've ever known right
That's great.
now as we speak.
Yeah, that's great.
We had one gentleman. Uh, he started with a 51-pound pack, and I was worried about him. He started yesterday, or was it the day before? But he started in the last couple of days. He did a 27-mile day the first day with a 51-pound backpack.
Wow, wow, that's impressive. Yeah, good.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
But I'd like to thank you personally.
Oh,
I
thank
love
you.
your event.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
it's the only event of its type that I'm aware of for hikers.
You and I both, Wolfie. I'm not aware of any other similar event, and but I hope that there are more that spring up, and I'm glad to help anyone that wants to create an event like this. I'm glad to assist and do what I can to help the cause. 'Cause I think
Great.
collectively
Thank you.
we can do good things
Thank
together.
you.
Yeah.
So, I'll cut this section of the recording, but is there any other off the record questions, Nicole, that you might have?
Not really, but I'd love to do just a normal Q&A on some of the logistics.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
um, this to me is just so at the core of really giving back. I mean, our
Yeah,
organization is an all volunteer.
yep,
Um, we don't raise a ton of money,
yeah,
but at the same time, there's such a sense. I mean, Wolf, family, you can call it brotherhood, you
yeah.
can call it ability to give back and pay it forward. And, we have over 7,000 hours of trail work in a
Wow.
year.
Yeah,
Um, so, you spread that over 311 miles.
sure.
That's a lot of contribution.
It really is. Absolutely. Yeah,
And we've not had an event on trail of any sort. Even though we're 51 years old, I think we're really in the infantile stage of getting organized and having those teams that can execute something and
yeah,
partnering right with
right.
several of our land managers.
Yeah,
So whether that's national forest, we go through three. Whether that's state parks, we go through six. It's navigating some of that.
sure.
I'd like to dive into a conversation with you on. But man, thanks for carrying the torch for what
Yeah.
the others started.
Yeah, thank you, and I feel honored to be able to do it.
Sure.
Really, I feel honored to be able to do it. I feel honored to be, like I said, the not so pretty face of it. But really, I'm just that not so pretty face. There are a whole lot of other people that are behind the scenes making things happen and caring for people and feeding people
Yep.
and that kind of stuff. So,
Okay.
anytime you want to get together to discuss opportunities that with your trail, let's get together in person and sit and
Yeah,
break
I was
bread
gonna
together and
say
have some good conversations.
definitely, and be sure to thank your wife. My husband
Yeah,
gives so much
yeah,
um, behind the scenes. I get it. I
yeah,
trust me. I get it.
yeah, yep,
it's
for sure
it's
I will.
it's
Thank you.
definitely an immediate family
Yeah,
sacrifice
yeah,
and investment, and so that's
yeah,
really cool. She's out helping with that.
yeah.
Thank her for
That's
me.
good. I will. Will do. Yeah, thanks.
And Randy, before I do close out, there's one other question I had for you. I'm going to go back to the three shot. So when I was doing the interviews with some of the hikers, right? Um, all of them said they're doing it for the veterans, right? And that's a valid answer. It's one of the reasons I do it myself. But what do you, what do you hear or what do you suspect is the reasons to do it besides the veterans?
Yeah, I think the reason beside the veterans are one of the big reasons is the camaraderie that has been built within this event. I think there are a lot of people that come back because, like I was saying earlier, because it's kind of like the dysfunctional family reunion that spans 70 miles in three counties. We have a bunch of people that have become a loosely knit Crucible family, and I feel like that's why they keep coming back because they want to see those people again and challenge themselves again and have a good time together. But besides the good deeds of helping a veterans organization, I think it's the family that we built to come back and contribute to that.
Just to share a personal experience that I had. So I came up to the hike and I had three or four people say, "Hey, aren't you Wolfie from YouTube?" And it's like immediately I was among family. They hugged me, shook my
Yeah,
hand, gave me a pat on the back. It was just like I was with old friends almost
yeah,
immediately.
yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
so that touched my heart.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a unique group of people.
All right, so let's try this close out one more time. All right. I'd like to thank Randy and Nicole for joining me tonight, and Randy for definitely all the work he does in putting on the Crucible Hike and what he does for the Veterans Leadership Program. With that being said, this is Wolfie. Please like and subscribe, and like and subscribe, and TTFN. Ta for now. I'll get it out one of these days. Thank you, everybody, for watching.